There are quite a number of very significant trends affecting the payments infrastructure and the way people do payments. And I think one of the most important is that now our customers have very powerful devices in their hands. They are now connected. They have access to information about the services and goods they're buying, to all knowledge of humanity, actually. And because of that, they are now smart customers, and they are much more demanding than before. Due to this powerful device with good interface, they expect a lot from service providers in terms of convenience, reliability, and in terms of security of payments they make. These are important trends, and in Georgia, I think the country made a good progress, especially in terms of convenience and frictionless of payments, because Georgia is leading in the world in terms of proliferation of contactless payments. It's second country in the world where every 9 transaction of 10 in POS network, in shops and bank terminals are made with contactless technology, with contactless cards. And currently this is the best, most smooth and convenient way to pay with a plastic card. But also the important point is the security, because it's about people's money. And the security of payments is for mobile devices with which people prefer to pay now should be resolved through special technologies. The best technology currently to provide the security of payments done with mobile phones is tokenization. And Georgia is also among the countries which has implemented this technology. 3 largest Georgian banks, including TBC Bank of Georgia and VTB Bank, have launched mobile wallets, banking wallets, which support tokenization. Bank of Georgia has also launched a solution with Garmin Pay wallet, also based on tokenization. So Georgia is on a good track in that. As I already mentioned, the customers became much more demanding now because of the new capabilities they have, because of the powerful devices in their hands, because of the interface which these devices provide. There are new technologies which are being implemented in wearables, in smartphones, in other devices. For example, biometric authentication. It provides much more smooth experience when the person initiates a payment. Instead of one-time passwords or some other ways to authenticate yourself, you can use your fingerprint, your face, which will be recognized, or even your voice. And Visa is now working on solutions which will simplify implementation of biometric authentication in mobile devices. This will be a software developer toolkit which will help developers to build biometric authentication into their mobile applications. And this is an ID platform which Visa is working on to support smart identification of customers.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. How do you think, what is the future of banking?
You know, it's a complex question. It has many components to it. Currently, there are discussions that banks are slow, that fintechs are moving faster, that they're developing new services and new user interfaces faster and better. But people who are saying that, they are forgetting about the very important basic function of the banking system of banks to store money securely, to provide access to this money, and to allow their customers to manage this money conveniently. And banks are doing it and will continue to do that. And all other services will be built on top of that platform. So it's very important for banks, on one hand, to provide the secure basic functions of storing money and providing access to this money, but on the other hand, to open their platforms to new solutions, new interfaces to fintech partners. And Visa is helping banks in this regard with our new technologies like tokenization, which I have mentioned on one side. It allows to store card credentials securely on mobile devices and allow access to bank accounts through them. And also, Visa is now opening our platforms with the help of APIs, application programming interfaces, which allow both banks and fintech partners to build new services using Visa capabilities and banks' capabilities in the background.
Finally, what do you think differentiates Visa from the rest of its competition in the payment sector in the new digital age?
I believe there are many factors which differentiate Visa. We are really a global company with the largest global coverage among all payment systems. Visa is launching all solutions as globally interoperable. If you are doing new technology, we make it in a way that in any part of the world, in any point of the world, you will be able to use it the same way. But I think that in the recent years, the most interesting differentiating factor for Visa is our openness. Visa has opened its network to non-banking participants and to banks who want to build new technologies, accessing VisaNet directly. And we are doing it through a set of APIs, which I've mentioned already, application programming interfaces, which are united in our main platform, which is called Visa Developer Platform. It's a set of APIs for developers accessible through a website, developer.visa.com. And also, yesterday, Visa has announced about a launch of a new platform using APIs. It's called Visa Next, and it will help banks and fintech partners to develop digital issuance of cards, digital management of cards, tokenization of these cards, the provisioning to mobile devices, all these latest ways to issue and manage cards without plastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The landscape of cyber attacks changed during recent years.
A lot. So, with the US adopting EMV technology in a widespread manner, the availability of max type data, which was very key for the criminals to use counterfeit cards for conducting fraudulent transactions, has shrunk drastically. So the criminals are no longer getting the max type data from large merchants or processors. Therefore, they have shifted their focus to the banks, financial institutions, where the money is there. They exploit the process and system gaps in the banks to penetrate into the system, conduct fraudulent activity, withdraw large sums of money, bring down the systems so that they don't see the fraudulent activity happening. So it is becoming difficult for the banks day by day, because the whole attention of the fraudsters has shifted to the financial institutions and the banks. So that's a paradigm shift that we have seen in the recent past after the US has gone on the EMV adoption rate.
Thank you. What is Visa's approach to cybersecurity in payments?
It's a very good question. So I wish there is a single silver bullet to answer this question, but Visa believes in multi-layered security solutions for protecting the banks against cybercrime activities. Our approach is built on 4 pillars: protect data, devalue data, harness data, and empower the consumers. Let me explain what do we mean by protect data. Protecting the sensitive payment card information from reaching the hands of the criminals is what we mean by protect data. Foundation is PCI DSS compliance. So the banks, when they do this comply to the PCI DSS requirements, it's a good starting point. It may not solve all the problems, but it empowers them to detect and prevent data compromises. The other solution could be end-to-end encryption, point-to-point encryption. It protects the data from during transit, and only the legitimate authority can decrypt the data. It makes it that much more difficult for the criminals to intercept and take the data away. Then devalue data. Devalue data is making the sensitive payment data useless in the hands of the criminals if it reaches their hands. How do we do that? EMV technology has kind of devalued the data because the sensitive data is not shared, and tokenization is another great example where the sensitive payment card data is replaced by a dummy number, and even if that token number is stolen by the attackers, it is useless in their hands. The third pillar is harnessing data. Using the power of big data analytics, we are striving to detect and prevent fraud at its early stages. So that is harnessing data to the benefit of the banks. The last but not the least is empowering the consumers. Who else can tell whether a transaction is legitimate or fraudulent? It is the cardholder. And by creating more awareness, sharing knowledge with the cardholders, and also empowering them to control the transactions and notifying them when the transaction happens. They can be the line of defense for the banks to fight against the fraudulent activity.
Thank you. And the final question, how Visa responds to the modern cyber threats?
It's a good question to ask because our response strategy has been evolving over a period of time in line with the fraud patterns and the attacker methodologies. As we speak, our response strategy is built on 3 pillars: having a first line of defense, then building a second line of defense, then disrupting the disruptors. Let me explain what it is. First line of defense is helping the banks to identify the fraud at the earliest stage and also prevent fraud. So Visa has got a solution called Visa Advanced Authorization that is with the banks for them to identify fraudulent activity at the earliest stage and minimize the fraud loss when it happens. Then second line of defense is Visa is building its own tools and technologies to identify fraudulent activity, to step in to prevent catastrophic losses happening to the banks. We continually seek to enhance this technology so that we play a vital role in helping the banks to protect their hard-earned money. Third, last but not the least, is disrupting the disruptors. The fight against cyber criminals is not over until we dismantle their infrastructure. That we are aiming to do by partnering with law enforcement partners, regulators, and industry experts by sharing information, passing the information to the relevant parties, and helping the law enforcement by providing, by connecting them with the banks to provide evidence so that the criminals can be brought to book and prosecuted. So it's a very evolving strategy that we are looking for as we move along in our fight against the cyber criminals.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.